20 years from now, guys, what will the NFL look like?
Wow, that's a great question. I think that right now, let's just put something out there. The NFL is safer than it's ever been today. The equipment is better than it's ever been. And I think the rules that they have in place can be carried out over a duration that the game should be safer. So the guys coming into the game to a safer game, they should be leaving the game a little bit safer, a little bit healthier. So I think that Roger Goodell and where he's headed, the league is in a great state. And I just look at the last two commissioners, I believe that it will be in an even better state then because of our reality of our past, realizing it and trying to correct it. Like, our past is not perfect. And the concussion thing has to be resolved. Like, it has to be resolved. And the type of damage that players' bodies, especially their brain, has taken in them playing in the league, that needs to be addressed in some type of manner.
Okay. Well, let me tee you up, and I'll go first here. I don't think there's any question that because of the hysteria surrounding concussions right now, that because of the mom factor in this country, that 20 years from today, the NFL's talent pool would be much smaller than it is today. Just because mothers everywhere, and fathers for that matter, are saying, oh my God, you really can't protect the head. You can make the headgear stronger and better, but the athletes are getting bigger and stronger faster every year. So I think parents everywhere are scared to death right now for their children.
Well, that's why it's important that we have an equal balance of what is the true information, like what's going on out there. We have former professional athletes who are struggling in their post-football career. But we don't have kids who played in middle school and high school and small colleges or D1 that are struggling in their life. So we shouldn't make this distinction.
We don't know because we wouldn't hear of those stories as much, Chris.
I think that based on the information that's out there now, it will begin to creep out. But the only people that seem to be having problems are guys who make it to the elite level. That seems to be the only people having the problem.
So yeah. But is there a chance that 20 years, 40 years from today, we wind up with sort of an elite warrior class in the NFL, almost like Roman gladiators? These are the ones who said, I'll take that risk. This is what I'll do with my life. High risk, high reward.
In a sense, that's what we have now, isn't it?
It doesn't feel quite like that yet.
Well,
but maybe we're heading.
Okay, this is the trade-off. When I was 7 years old, I doctored up my birth certificate to try to play Little League football. Unbeknownst to my mother, went there, got turned down, only 7. Come back when you're 8. Signed up when I was 8 years old. Played that game, 16 years. Played that game. It was in me. When you have a kid that's born to you like that, there's nothing you, as a mom.
Help me out. Where were you in
Ohio?
In smaller.
Middletown, Ohio.
Okay.
Middletown, Ohio.
Yeah.
Like, it was in me.
Middle America, really.
Man, I just wanted to play ball. No, and in my theory, went to Ohio State, never had a concussion.
Wait, did your parents were okay
one
with
parent.
This?
My mom didn't. I told you. I told you. I grabbed the birth certificate out the box and I went.
But did she fight all the way up?
My baseball, because she thought baseball was more dangerous.
Right.
And she said, Chris, you have the temperament for football. And she was so right about that.
But did she fight you playing all the way up into high school?
No. No, she really didn't. When I went and did that when I was 7 years old, and the people had called her and said, your son was down here and tried to sign up for football, and he's not old enough. It's like, yeah, that's Chris.
Okay, so she was good with that.
But I just believe parents need to get the right information. I coached in Little League as kids start out, 8, 9, 10. I coached in high school, and I see in college, I believe kids are protected from a medical standpoint because we know more. We have a better sight for a kid who has a concussion now at a younger age. So the game is safer. People that are watching TV now, parents that are watching, they know when their son is concussed. And little kids now, little kids can't get going fast enough to have the type of collisions that would hurt their head. So there's a lot of, people are being scared out there about football, and we need to get a balance of what is the appropriate information to be out there. I played 16 years in the league, and I did not have a concussion. It ain't like I forgot. It ain't like my memory's worse than it was. Like these guys are saying, oh, I'm losing my memory. Well, how smart were you when you was 22? Like, we need to get, when you get close to 50, you're going to start losing your memory anyway. So I believe that with the information that's out there, if presented the right way, football will be as popular because Little guys want to play football.
Stephen A., where are you on this?
I don't want to call the discussion senseless because it's not. But I do believe people who think that the quality of the NFL is going to dissipate and diminish because there's going to be a diminished interest in the sport are missing the big picture. The NFL just finished negotiating a collective bargaining agreement where $9.3 billion was being earned annually, where it's projected that it's going to go anywhere from 12 to 18 billion annually over the next 10 years. Do the math, and that's anywhere from 130 to 180 billion dollars that we're talking about over the next decade in profit.
You can't make that decision.
So what I'm trying to say to you is that
They're also a target. A lot of lawsuits are cropping
please
up.
allow me to finish. When you put those numbers out there, and then we're talking about people from desolation and deprivation and poverty and what have you, they're not going anywhere. When you are, and I tried, and I was explaining this early in the morning, but we didn't have a chance to get into it.
Right.
Whatever. When you come from nothing, and you see a light at the end of the rainbow that says you can have something, you don't care what the risk is. You know why you don't care what the risk is? Because you're talking about hell to folks, they are in hell. And anything that gets you out of that hell is what you will do. Now, I'm going to take it.
That's real talk
I'm
there.
going to take it to another level. And I didn't say this in the meeting, you know, because Skip and Jay, individuals that I know, y'all are, that's why y'all are my boys, because y'all are so open to this stuff. I'm just going to break it down to you. When we talk about, a lot of times in this world, we talk about crime and we talk about kids on the street. You on the street corner selling drugs. You could end up in jail. The cops know who you are because they drive by and they
Or
see
dead.
you all the time. Or dead. But you risk it anyway, don't you?
Yeah.
You know why you risk it anyway? Because in your heart, you got nothing to lose. What you going home to? What are your options? What are your real options? Particularly when you consider yourself behind the 8 ball because systemically you believe a society is turned against you or has put you at a decisive disadvantage to the point where you have to climb to levels that the average Joe may not have to climb to. And so let me get this straight. Oh, okay, this is the potential way out. I get to play football in front of thousands of people in attendance, in front of millions of people watching on television for millions.
Well, there are
Not
other
thousands-
sports avenues out, though.
I understand. No,
Stephen A.
I'm
Basketball.
talking about what you're good at.
Okay.
Saying that Chris Carter's gift was football.
He was
you see what I'm trying to
destined
say?
to be-
That's what I'm trying to say. I'm just talking about what your gift is. What I'm saying to you is if football is your gift, let's analyze football. 80,000, you know, at least.
Sure.
You know, tailgate parties,
Right.
#1 sports in America, you know, the Super Bowl, the glitz, the glamour, all of this other stuff that
The
comes
pull
with
is
it.
too
And
strong.
oh, by the way, it's legal. And on top of it all, it brings adulation and it elevates me and my quality of life to another level. You think I'm worried about 10, 20, 30 years down the road? It's about now. And that is why it's not going anywhere.
Okay, I give you heavyweight boxing to counter your argument.
Okay.
I give you that I grew up, and you to a certain extent, through the glory days of the heavyweight boxing division. Liston, and Ali, and Frazier, and Norton, and I can go on all the way up to Larry Holmes. And then what happened? It just fell off to where we don't care anymore.
I'm glad you brought that up.
Well, let me finish.
Sure, please,
okay?
go ahead.
And it was mainly to me because even those kids on the street corner selling drugs started to see Muhammad Ali look like a vegetable, and it scared them. It scared them in ways that even now, that concussions for the first time ever are being publicized right now. This may start to scare the kids in the inner city selling drugs. Like, I don't know if I want that. I don't know if that's worth it.
I used the analogy, hold on, Chris. I used the analogy with the drug dealers or whatever just to point out the fact that you're willing to put it all on the line for now. That's the only reason I use that analogy. But let's take boxing, for example. Boxing, I would beg to differ with you about Ali being the reason for the diminished interest in the sport. You know what the diminished interest in the sport is?
Skill level.
Promoters, to #1, skill level, #2, #3, and more importantly, the select few. You don't get to feel like everybody because we don't popularize the sport. I guarantee you if Howard Cosell was still alive and we had ABC's Wild World of Sports, and you saw boxing on every week, and there was some level of
but
control.
now you got a chicken or egg
Yeah, what
problem.
first,
What?
Can I put
the
a comment?
diminished popularity or the lack of coverage?
This is what I think. Okay, football is groups of people. So it might affect long-term groups of people. It might affect the linebackers. It might affect safeties. It might affect running backs. But it's not going to affect little wide receivers. It's not going to affect the quarterbacks. It's not going to affect guys who want to rush the passer. Their desire to play the game is going to be there because they don't see the danger. I don't see wide receiver. I saw Darryl Stingley get hit, and that thing sent chills through my body like never before. I don't see guys get hit like that. So wide receivers in the league, they're not afraid anymore.
Yeah.
But the one point I think that we're missing is we got this all based on making it to the pros. Do you know how many guys in the NFL wouldn't have made it through college without that scholarship? Like, you went to college. You know how hard it is to get through college without student loans?
Right.
Like, you know how many guys have been afforded
Pell
opportunity?
Grants, work study.
Even though they might go into the league, we're talking about, the league is destroying these guys. No, football gave them an opportunity to get their education. Now, the NFL is going to use those guys. It's the guys' fault that they don't use the NFL to get what they need out of life.
Totally agree.
Get the treatment that they need. Get the programs that they need. Everything is set right before them in the NFL. If they don't use it, it's their fault.
Chris,
you can't blame the NFL.
There's only one other point that I'd like to make based off of what Chris is saying. You're talking about the NFL, and I completely agree with you in your position on the NFL. What I would tell you about college football, high school, stuff like that, let's keep this in mind. They do not have representation. There's no players association representing you, your interest, your plight, et cetera, et cetera. That's each individual, every man for themselves. That's very, very difficult, a very, very difficult position to put a college athlete, or don't even let me go any further with a high school athlete. Very, very difficult. So, yeah, there may be a problem. There may be things that we're not hearing. That may be the biggest reason why. But ultimately, it comes back to what Chris Carter is saying right here when he talks about, you're a grown man. The NFL, ain't no boys in the NFL. You're a grown man. You're supposed to know how to handle your business and act accordingly. And all of these pointing fingers at the NFL, they were made aware of it. They take those risks, and you have to take that into consideration.
Yep.
Now, I think it's somewhat like the tobacco. See, I do believe money can change stuff. The tobacco industry, somebody need to write a check for that lie they told. Now, if the evidence based on concussions was slanted so that the NFL had it in their favor, then the only thing they can do is write a check.
Sure.
That's the only thing they can do. And at least let's start over and say we're going to make the NFL better. We made mistakes. But the only thing right now, as far as them former players, is a check to make that lawsuit and make all that go away.
And if you're after the check, then be after the check. But don't be about the business of trying to ruin the sport and blame the sport for things that you know you contributed to. That's a problem.
Final point.
Am I right about that?
What's the glamour position in football?
Quarterback.
Okay, you talked about the inner city. Let's talk about inner city and the suburbs. Let's talk about the glamour position.
Okay.
Because now kids everywhere and their parents are watching Jim McMahon on ESPN saying, I don't even know who I am. I won't be able to remember this interview that I'm doing right now in 10 minutes, right? And you look back and you say, wait a minute, Steve Young quit prematurely because of concussions, and Aikman quit prematurely concussions, Staubach prematurely concussions. How will they be later in their life? Will they hit 50 and start to forget who they are?
The game is safe for those.
Okay,
but the quarterback can't be hit like that anymore.
And not only is the game safer, Skip, they're also going to go like this. I'll get in and I'll get out sooner. Maybe they stay too long.
Maybe.
That's how a guy that's starving, that wants that opportunity thinks. Let me get out early.
Let me tell you what they think. They think a lot like me. I played 16 years. They ain't going to catch me. Dude ain't going to hit me. I ain't going to have no concussion. Football is not a contact sport for me. I teach kids. It's avoid the contact. That's how you make money.
Hey, there's still, at least once or twice, every game that I watch, the quarterback gets rocked. And you can say you can protect all you want. He gets rocked.
Well, even with all the new rules, you can think back to Colt McCoy against the Steelers.
You know what? All I know is this. When I saw Robert Griffin III, when I saw Andrew Luck, when I saw Tannehill and these boys going to Gruden's camp, they looked excited about playing football. They didn't look like they were shying.
It ain't started yet.
Okay.
Okay.
They don't know. That's my point.
I know.